Good morning and welcome to the first and last March 1st, 2020. The sun is arising, the weather is getting warmer, and the trails have returned. We'll see a little bit of sky watching going on today. It's kind of strange how easy it is to get complacent. Not that these videos actually stop anything, but maybe if a few more people pick up on it, we'll get a few more delivered public answers from our officials. And we were missing for probably 4 to 5 days, and made me feel as if, well, did they complete the program? Are they done putting all this stuff over us, pretty much 4 or 5 times a week, every month, every year? And I really wasn't naive, but I enjoyed thinking that they might be gone for a little while. But as we see, all this stuff up there is caused from them. And a world that now is a little bit more incited towards a slight panic in regards to the beer virus. This probably could tie into somewhat of finding out what the answer would be. Would it do any good to know that answer? Or is it just more spending time on futile efforts to wake the masses? And shall we just put this aside and maybe get some springtime work done and wait until the situation gets so bad that people would actually activate in doing something and saving their own self, as well as joining teams and armies of the awakened in order to find peace again in this world and sane strategies of how we should live. Because what's going on, folks, is no way to actually work a personal life, family life, community life, state life, or country life, or world life. This is no way to exist here on earth. And yes, it's not divine or anything of the such. It is simply an out of control, criminal ran, evilly driven leadership around the world that is constantly in disarray, trying to throw whatever they can out there for some small agenda that may have helped them out in the past. And what I mean by small, it could still be a large agenda, but there's so many of them there at this point. I mean, we have the oceans dying. We have still half the insects practically gone off the face of the earth. Our wildlife is probably down 50% as well, just over the last 20 years. So our air quality must be bad, and our food must be bad, and our water must be getting tainted. Now, if anybody calls that sane, good living, sane, good conditions, I don't think you want to go take a real sane or insane test. This is part of the whole big picture. I do a lot of videos like this on the skies because they're easy to spot. You just kind of go up to the store, just grabbing some early morning coffee, and sure enough, I saw this long streak up there. It's already broadening out. Now soon will start dissipating and coming down, even if it's just a few miles. A lot of people think that the sky's so far up, and those two far ones will as well, this one and this one. And again, it shows some of the convexity of the perspective, which I covered in another video. But point is, again, here is it's going to litter down on us, and it's going to cause more of the vegetation destruction. We've made a lot of videos regarding breaking tree branches, dry and brittle, and like a piece of spaghetti for that matter. And that again is detrimental to our overall capacity to survive. Now, if the panic sets in and the martial law begins, the medical martial law, we'll know that we are just sinking further into dire straits of survival at any reasonable level of what we had once known as a decently free country. We will be in chaos as still there resentments amongst the people whom are affiliated with different parties still are licking each other's wounds because we were designed, led, coaxed into fighting with each other over ideas that were really not on point with our biggest problems. And these ideas of what this is, do we need to have that? Do we need to have nuclear energy? Do we need to put all the chemicals in the water? Do we need the pesticide foods in order to survive, to have an economy work for us? Or were those the outreaching arms of screaming greed that had brought us down? Now, I know there might be some guilt sense amongst some people that might read between the lines, like, was I a part of that guilty greed system? Did I at least humbly take my job that might have been really driven at other levels within the company that I worked with? Did I do that just by believing excessively in the own country about economics ahead of everything else? While we have one of the most modernized, living arrangements that the world has ever known, as if we needed to push that much further. And maybe we could ask for a little bit of repentance that we had pushed the wrong agenda, and we're soon to find the consequences of them being a lot more difficult to deal with. And we certainly hope that somehow you can find a little bit of the sunlight, the saving sunlight, the light of the world, that would enter into the hearts, into the minds, to realize all we really need to live is reasonable housing, a little bit of food, and a decent amount of water. Everything else would work out. It should be easier to let go and denounce, demean, and criticize those efforts that push forward and some excess raping of our resources and our excess thought of climbing up this ladder of economic success, only to see that it's killing us. Just like these poles, when they put these boxes in and they learn how to activate them, that one's in, this one's not in yet. That's going to send a millimeter wave. That's a piercing wave that can change the actual blood oxygen ratio itself and can cause sickness. Maybe that's what coronavirus is already, done through the 4G system. We don't know the inside because we haven't demanded to know the inside. When did that transition take place where we felt control of our country and we agreed with everything? Most citizens would have agreed that everything's pretty much fine. There could have been a little bit of dissension amongst maybe the Vietnam War, but for the most part, and also the Gulf War and anything after that, people thought about the same. I always thought that if we were ever to be attacked, like we see here clear in just one video from a small man's porch in a not so big of a world anymore, clearly we would never have agreed. When did it transition like that? We just kind of wake up and go, holy moly. And then all the inside sales jobs occur, making us think, oh, it's always been this way. It's never been this way. This is the worst that it's ever been, and that disrupts a little bit of the ones that are of age or aged in the society to think, well, we've been through it all. We've never been through here on our own lands this level of potential danger that is arising through a combination of psyops, psychological, that we see through on the media, a disrupted political system that gives us very little trust and faith. We've never seen the depletion of our resources to the level that we have. Never can you say that there was that many insects missing, that many wildlife gone, that much of the ocean just falling into disrepair. Never have we seen such wild, inclement weather suddenly changing from 50 degrees one day to -2 the other in some areas. Windstorms, firenadoes, extreme flooding, extreme heat, extreme lows. Those things are all new. That's why it's probably wise if we all gain together and at least earn and build that trust that we had before. Because in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, people had an understanding of the American narrative, and now we have a lot of confusion about it. That's because we haven't